So I want to introduce myself. I am Aaron Brown. I am the mayor of the beautiful city of Forest Park, and I appreciate everyone coming out to our first ever City of Forest Park Tax Town Hall. So there are a number of presentations that we have to get through, so we ask that you save all your questions until the end. But just before we get started, I would like to introduce a number of our city council members here. If city council can all raise their hand, they're all here in the front row. City council members, raise your hand. This is all of our council members, so any questions that you have, please feel free to direct questions at them as well, because they are residents, but you know they can answer any questions that you have. Next, this is our city manager, Mr. Don Jones. And he will have a few remarks to make tonight as well. And then starting on the left is our finance director, Ms. Harlita. She's going to go first and give an overview of taxes, the difference between property tax and income tax in the city of Forest Park. Next, we have Brigid Kelly, our Hamilton County Auditor. So she's going to give an overview of the auditor's office, what they do, talk about county assessments and things like that. And then we also have Jill Schiller, our county treasurer. And she is also going to talk about the collection process of your taxes. Before we get started, though, I want everybody to recognize the fact that we are listening to everything that you say about the community that you live in. Forest Park is a wonderful, beautiful community, but we hear the complaints, and as residents ourselves, we know that taxes are a discussion that everyone wants to have. And this is something that has been going on since when I first moved here in 1998, when I lived with my great-grandmother, and it's still going on to this day. But we want to demystify the issues. We know you have questions, and we're going to try to answer those questions as best as possible, but we are responsive to you. So anything that you say that you want to see out of your elected officials, we will show up, and we will try to answer your questions as best as possible. And I want you to also recognize the fact that these two county officials, to my knowledge, this is the first time that county officials in these two respective positions have come to the city of Forest Park to discuss this particular issue. So I just want to recognize them for taking time out of their busy schedules just to do that, because we are a government that is responsive to you. So without further ado, I'm just going to pass it over to Don, and then he's going to make some introductions himself.
Well, I just want to thank everyone for coming, and thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to make sure we recognize former Mayor, the Honorable Chuck Johnson, of course. And the representative from Elisa Reese is here as well. So we have a lot of folks here from the county. We'll have a lot of folks here. Obviously, our city council members, we really appreciate this. This meeting wouldn't be possible without the leadership of our new mayor, Honorable Aaron Brown, and of course, our city council members as well. So again, they're very responsive, and they really want to reach out to the community. And this is just the first of many opportunities we're going to give the community to show up, give them a little information, a little education in terms of that they can learn from and understand and help understand. Taxes are very complicated. It's a complicated subject, but there's a lot of things that are also very complicated in the city. We're going to try and do our best to reach out to the community and help explain some of the things we're doing and the way things work in our city. So again, just look forward to more of these. I want a couple of housekeeping things. I would, if you would, all turn off your phones if you could, take a second. Also, we are trying to reach out to the community a lot more. So in the back, we have sign-up sheets, and we hope that everyone signs up and leaves us their name, a phone number, an email address, as much information as you can give us. We're going to put together a listing, and when we do things like this, we'll make sure that we send out text messages or emails or do the best we can to and get in touch with as many people as possible. So we're going to be doing this at all of our events this year. We're going to try and collect as much information and get on the list so you can at least know what's going on and be a part of these community events going forward. So I want to turn it over to, again, thank you all for coming. I want to turn it over to our finance director, Ms. Harlita Tomlinson. She does a great job, and she's been here quite a while. and well respected in the government finance community. She's in the is on the board, I believe, of the GFOA, National Government Finance Officers Association, and she does a tremendous job for us. And I'm going to turn it over to her, and she's going to run it from there. So thank you all for coming. Olivia, you want to go to the podium? Oh, we will save questions for the end, as the mayor said. And if you have a question, just please come up to the podium, because we are being filmed tonight by Waycross Media. Thank you, Waycross. Live streaming, I think, as well. And so anybody that misses us in the community, this will be running on Waycross TV's YouTube channel, as well as we'll have some links to it on our website and our social media. But also it'll be out there. It'll be running on cable TV as well. So that's why we want to make sure that if there's a question, everybody will be able to hear it. And we want to encourage people to ask general questions about, specific questions about your tax situation might be better off with a conversation with Arleta on the side. But we encourage everyone to come up and encourage and ask a question, because that's a question that probably somebody, if not somebody here, somebody out there on TV might want to have the same question. So Arleta, take it away.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming. And I'm also the person that's doing the slides, so have mercy on me. But just a quick agenda of what we're going to go through at this particular town hall meeting. We will have a discussion about real property tax calculation and distribution, how they do billing and collection, and as well as property tax valuation. And then I will wrap it up by talking about municipal income tax. So before I get to the two ladies sitting next to me, I thought doing some definitions of some things would help us out a lot. So what is property tax? So according to the definition, and I think I took it from Brigid Kelly's website, it is an ad valorem value of a property or parcel. It is normally, property taxes can be impacted by multiple jurisdictions, and it's levied by some kind of governing authority. So what is ad valorem? It is a Latin phrase that means according to the value. So that means that property taxes are a proportional tax to the value of the underlying property or asset. And who bills and collects these taxes? It's the county. The county calculates, collects, and distributes property tax. According to their websites, the county auditor is the chief assessor of Hamilton County, and the county treasurer is the chief collector. So in a nutshell, what Ms. Kelly does is she will do all of the reappraisals and updates to property values. She will assess or put values on manufactured homes and look at tax returns to generate personal property tax. And all of these things are listed on her website, and she will talk about them at length in her presentation. Ms. Schiller is the chief collector. She is responsible for collecting all the taxes levied or imposed in the county according to several Ohio Revised Code sections, which I've listed. So she'll calculate the real property tax as well as the tax on manufactured homes, personal property tax, and she also is responsible for pursuing people for delinquent property taxes. So in summary, the county does three major troughs of things. They calculate and distribute property tax, they do valuations and revisions of property tax, and they do the billing and collecting. So So now I think I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Kelly.
Thank you, Ms. Harlita. And thank you so much to you, Mayor Brown, and to the council and to the leadership of Forest Park for having us out tonight. I think it's really exciting. I've gotten to spend a lot of time out here with one of your #1 champions of the Great 28, the Honorable Jessica Miranda. So I appreciate the opportunity to be back. So we're going to talk a little bit throughout the next couple slides. I'll tell you a little bit about my background. I've been in office since March the 13th, so almost 2 full months, and we've made it so far. We'll talk a little bit about the responsibilities of our office. We'll talk specifically about the reappraisal process and timeline and about some of the tools that are available on our website. We have a trick slide in here for questions, but those are really for the end. Up here on the bottom, you can see our website, hamiltoncountyauditor.org, and our phone number, 513-946-4000. A little bit of my background, I went to Xavier University and the University of Cincinnati, which means that in the crosstown shootout, everybody wins, everybody gets a trophy, everybody can feel warm and fuzzy. Before I served as auditor, I did 3 terms in the Ohio State House and also worked for the United Food and Commercial Workers Union, which is a labor union that represents packing and processing and grocery workers. So my whole career has been spent working on behalf of working families and consumers, and so that's really what we want to try and do every day for you in the auditor's office. So in terms of responsibilities, we have a wide variety of responsibilities in our office, and I always like to joke that if the state legislature doesn't know who should be in charge of something, they give it to the auditors. That is the only plausible explanation, I think, for the depth and breadth of our office responsibilities. So we are the chief financial officer of the county, which means we assist in preparing budgets, we help taxing authorities, and we are also the real property assessor, which means that we have a key role in assessing property values. So we don't work in taxes, we work in values, and you will be tired of hearing me talk about this by the end of this meeting tonight, but hopefully that means you remember it. We serve, or our representatives serve, on the County Board of Revision, along with Treasurer Schiller, and Commissioner Reese has some designees on the Board of Revision as well, and we can talk more about that. I serve as Secretary of the County Budget Commission. Our office is in charge of the administration of rental registration, the homestead exemption, as well as the owner occupancy credit. And so we'll talk about those things. We're also in charge of dog licensing. So there are not a lot of, government services that inherently make people happy. Dogs make people happy. So we're in charge of licensing dogs as well as vendors. We're in charge of weights and measures, which means when you go to the gas pump, we make sure that your gallon is a gallon, or that when you go to the grocery store that your pound of meat is actually a pound. And if you pay close attention to those deli scales, you'll see the numbers space out, and it's so the consumer can see how much you're getting when you go to those. And then we have other duties as assigned by statute, including being the chief payroll officer for the county. So, my predecessor was in office for 32 years, and I think it was because it took 32 years to figure out all of the responsibilities of the auditor's office. But that's why it's important to be surrounded by a really great team. And so the Hamilton County Auditor's Office does all of these responsibilities and more with a team of 72 people. Other similarly situated counties like Franklin County, Columbus, they have 142 on their staff. Montgomery County, Dayton, they have 105. So we are lean and mean, and we try to be as efficient as possible. The auditor's office, we are administrators and implementers rather than a policy-making entity. And so even with some of the different things like the tax credit programs that we administer, for example, we do just that. We administer them, but we do not have a role in making those policies, unfortunately, I would say. So we serve the community, but we don't do it all. So we administer the functions that are outlined for us in the Ohio Revised Code, but there are a couple things that we get a lot of questions about that are not within our purview of responsibilities. So we don't collect property taxes. That's the county treasurer. We do not provide surveys or maps. That is the county engineer. We do not manage deeds. That's the county auditor. And we do not make abatement policy. And I always say, I'm going to get a t-shirt that says this on here. The auditor's office does not make abatement policy. Rather, we just implement the policies that are set forth by your local political subdivision. A couple other things, we don't draw school districts. That's not a function of the auditor's office. We don't raise your taxes, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later. A couple things we get a lot of questions about when people check out our website to, look at your property tax distributions or make sure your information is correct. A lot of people have name changes. We can only change names when you have a change on the name on your deed. And so we really recommend that people talk with a real estate attorney in order to do that. We get a lot of questions about rental registrations. So we are the state's agent effectively for their rental registration program, but it can be confusing for folks because some communities have started their own rental registration programs. And so folks who own rental properties or people who are trying to do their due diligence say, hey, I already paid my rental registration, or why don't you have this? But it's because sometimes people get confused because local communities and the county are collecting these, but the county is the official agent of the state, and we do not charge for rental registrations. Now, folks can be fined for not completing rental registrations, but we do not charge in order to file a rental registration. So the auditor's office, we work in values, not in taxes. And I think, Ms. Harlita, it looks like, we cheated off each other's notes. So property taxes are based on value. And so that is part of the formula for calculating property taxes, but it is not the only part of the formula. And I will say one thing I think that is incredibly confusing for everyone in the universe is how property taxes are calculated in the state of Ohio. It is not easy. It is completely confusing. So we do have a tool on our website, which is hamiltoncountyauditor.org, hamiltoncountyauditor.org, where you can look up any parcel of property in the county and click on tax distributions and see how much goes where. There's also a tool on there, so if you're somebody who's considering buying a property and your value is listed at $100,000 and it's being sold for $125,000, you can type $125,000 in the box, and it will give you the new values based on the current taxes, so that you can get a little bit of a sense of what you're looking at. So communities see increases in tax revenue by having more taxable property, so that's new construction, or by voters passing a property tax levy. So voters are the ones who decide in what your community wants to invest, because we know different communities have different priorities. And so ultimately it's up to the voters to decide what is most important to them and in what they want to invest. Now, the second part where the House is, I think, is really important, which is an increase in fair market value doesn't automatically lead to an increase in property taxes. I mean, we know that property tax calculation is totally confusing. And so, a lot of people think, well, if my home value goes up 5%, then that means my property taxes will go up 5%. That is not necessarily true. If your house decreases in value by 5%, it doesn't necessarily mean that your taxes will decrease by 5%. So most levies have a cap, which means that whomever the beneficiary is of the levy can't get a windfall. Rather, they are guaranteed to get a certain amount of money. And once they get that, then it satisfies, the requirements of the levy, which is why the calculation can be so confusing. So there's a factor that is built into those to make sure that the levy generates what the voters voted upon, but not anything above that. So the value of properties is updated every 3 years, and that's by order of the state. So we have what's called a triennial and a full reappraisal. And we are in a full reappraisal year right now, so we'll talk a little bit about that first. So basically what we do in terms of a full reappraisal is we use a mass appraisal approach. So similar properties in the same taxing district are valued similarly. We try really hard to compare apples to apples, and I'll show you a tool on our website so you can see more about what which properties yours is being compared to. there's a standardized approach across the state to ensure consistency. So while we may have grievances about the process, and while the process may have a lot of shortfalls, it is not within the auditor's power to change the process by which we appraise and value properties. That is a function of the state legislature. So the process for this is laid out in administrative code, which is ultimately up to the state legislature. The other thing is we don't chase sales. So if you buy a house tomorrow, we don't recalculate your property taxes on the third day. It only happens during that triennial or during the full reevaluation process, which is every 6 years. And we look at every single one of the parcels in Hamilton County, of which we have over 350,000. So by comparison, Ottawa County in Northwest Ohio has 40,000 parcels. So we are one of the larger counties in the state in terms of parcel count. The other important thing is the mass appraisal process is different than if you have a private appraiser come to your house, because we're using technology, we're using an algorithm, and we're using these similar properties in order to determine your value. And so that's different than if you have somebody who comes to your house to look at that. So every 6 years, we do the reappraisal process, and we'll talk a little bit about the timeline for this year on the next slide. So folks will get a tentative value notice in the mail. And so the values are based on sales during 2020, 2021, 2022, and the first quarter of 2023. And so there can be a big swing in all of that, but we try to take into account as much data as we can to be as accurate as possible. So if you participate in the informal review process, we will, on your postcard, provide you a list, or actually you can get it on our website too, starting this summer, hamiltoncountyauditor.org. And so we will give you a list of things that can help in the review process. So our staff will take a peek at what you send in. So it could be the recent sale of your property or comparable properties, a listing that is similar, a recent appraisal of your property, or things that we might not know because we haven't looked at every nook, cranny, and crevice in your house. So our staff will take a look at that. You can either do it online or by mail, because we want to be accurate, we want to be transparent, and we also want to give people an opportunity to check our work. So you can say, hey, we think you're right on, or we think you're way off. And this also gives people an opportunity to sort of see the work that we have done and to anticipate what's going to happen in the final value notice. So when we get our values finished, we have to file with the state of Ohio and say, hey, we think this is going to be the schedule of values and approximately how much property has increased or decreased in varying neighborhoods. The state of Ohio can do something similar and say, hey, we think you got this right on, or we think you are way off. And the state is actually sort of the ultimate decider of this. So we can go fight them to our heart's content and maybe get them to move a little bit, but the state is ultimately the one who approves our values. And then the taxes will be calculated based upon those new values approved by the state. And so, again, you can use our website, hamiltoncountyauditor.org, click on the tax distributions website. Now, it will be based upon the current taxes instead of the new taxes, but it will also just give you an idea. So if you get your tentative value notice and your $100,000 house is worth $110,000, you can type $110,000 in that box and it'll give you a little bit of a sense of what to expect. So the timeline for this year, tentative value notices are going to be mailed starting in May for commercial properties, starting in June for residential properties. So if anybody can look in their crystal ball and predict how fast the United States Postal Service will be, I want you to give me some lottery numbers too while you're at it. But we anticipate folks starting to get those toward the end of June and at the beginning of July. And so those are going to be the tentative value notices that talk to you about the informal review process. And so we'll need to get the information to review your properties by August the 4th. starting in the summer, you'll be able to click on a portal on our website for the informal review process. You can upload your documents to it that you think are relevant. On that postcard, you're going to get what we call a NIN number. And so you put that number in and it'll show you all the information about your parcel of property. And again, it really gives you a chance to check our work and, makes sure that we are being transparent with all of the taxpayers in Hamilton County. So then we file those real estate reports and taxes get calculated. So if we do the informal review of your property and you say, hey, you got it totally wrong, and we get it, and we look at the evidence that you supply, and we say, hey, we did get it totally wrong, then we'll send you an update because you'll get that new value notice at the end that says, hey, this is what it is. So a couple tools that might be helpful to you in going through all of this. Again, HamiltonCountyAuditor.org. You can search by name, address, or parcel. And if you click on the sales tab under appraisal area, you can see those similar properties in your area. So you can get a sense of what your property is getting compared to. And this is a really useful tool as we go through the mass appraisal process. And again, it's to make sure that we are trying to compare apples to apples and in an effort to be both accurate and transparent. Next, you can see on HamiltonCountyAuditor.org our page about departments. So we went through just some of the things that we talked about, some of our responsibilities, but this really gives a more comprehensive look at all of the things that we do. And you can click on any of those departments. You can see frequently asked questions, you can get forms, you can get downloads. So if you think you might be eligible for the homestead exemption, for example, you can get the application off of there, owner occupancy, vendor licenses. And if there's a resource that you're looking for that's not on there, let us know. You can send us an email or you can call us at 513-946-4000 and our team will be happy to work you through it. And so this is really helpful if you want to dig a little deeper into some of the work that we do in the auditor's office, or if you have specific questions about programs that we administer. The last slide that I wanted to sort of highlight is our downloads tab. Again, HamiltonCountyAuditor.org. You click on the departments page, and these are sortable files of public information. So we have lots of public information. We want to make it as easy as possible for people to access it. And so these files are updated regularly. You can download them. We cannot help with special research projects. That is a very frequent request for us, but with our lean mean staff of 72, we just don't have the resources to do it. But we can and we will fulfill any reasonable public records request. So again, if there are things that folks are looking for that you can't find on our website or you think we might not have available, give us a call, send us an email, let us know what you're looking for because we want to make sure to provide, again, the most comprehensive and accurate information for our constituents as we can. So, the reappraisal process is a lot of work, but we want to, again, make sure that we are accurate and transparent. And it's a great opportunity to interact with your government and to make sure that what we are doing is living up to the expectations of the people who live both in your community in Forest Park and throughout the county.
And based on the information that was on the auditor's website, we did put together a handout of the two taxing districts within the city. And we took all of those downloads and gave you the full distributions of where all the taxes go if you're in Winton Woods District and Northwest, which is about 90%. So it is based upon the effective rate. So we gave you a little bit of how to calculate it if you're home, and what I looked on the Google and said, what is the average value of a home in Forest Park? So it was $220,000. Some of you are over that, some of you are under that. So we use that as an estimate to give you exactly how those taxes would break down for an average home in Forest Park. And with that, I think next up is Ms. Schiller.
Thank you, everybody. It's so good to be here. I also want to thank Mayor Brown, Manager Brown, and Ms. Harlita, all of the council people, and everybody else who just cares enough to come out on a Thursday night and talk about taxes. So I am a lawyer by training. I founded a children's nonprofit center in Philadelphia, which is home. We moved here 12 years ago on June 1st, so it's actually coming up. And I fell in love with the community. I worked at Downtown Cincinnati Incorporated as my first job in town, which really got me connected into the city. And in 2018, I ran for Congress in the 2nd District, which brought me into the greater county and many, many other counties besides. When I realized that there was a real chance to get into this office if I worked hard, I was really taken with the job because, you know, compared to Brigid's office, we do less, much less, much, much less. But what that means is it gives us the chance to get involved in the community in different ways. So by ORC, by code, we collect the taxes that are due and distribute them by proportion to where the money's supposed to go, be it through the commissioners or through your local taxing and school districts. But we do a couple of other things as well. I serve as the Chief Investment Officer for the county and the President of the Investment Commission. I'm the President of the Budget Commission, where I sit with Brigid and a representative from our county prosecutor's office. And as Brigid mentioned, we have representatives at the Board of Revision. I'm also the chair of the Hamilton County Land Bank, which is a really useful tool for getting rid of blighted, vacant properties. And I want to underline that really quick. All the properties that are handled through the Hamilton County Land Bank are vacant and blighted and have no actual owners that can be found and made to pay. And so it's a wonderful tool to help remove these eyesores and bring up property values and return these properties to productive use and tax-paying status. So mostly, I'm responsible for collecting taxes, 3 different kinds: real estate, property, manufactured homes, and personal property. As you probably know, real estate taxes are due twice a year. The first half is due January 31st, and the second is coming up on June 20th. You will be receiving your bills in the next 2 weeks by U.S. mail. However, just because you receive them by U.S. mail does not mean you need to pay them that way. We are pushing our online payment system very heavily. Right now, for a fee of just $1, you can pay by e-check. And this works on a number of levels. One, it's easy for our consumers, our taxpayers. It's one click and go. If you own more than one parcel, it is still just $1 to pay for all of your parcels. 2, the money gets collected by us faster and easier. And 3, you don't have to worry about the problems that have been going on with the USPS, particularly, aside from length, the theft from blue mailboxes that has just been a scourge for the past year. So it's a much safer transaction. And we are also working, this is the unofficial, not announcement, but we're working to add different payment methods so that we can make it even easier for you folks, Venmo, Apple Pay. You know, we'll hope to start getting text alerts and things like that. Technology is coming. Not to our website, though, at the moment. It looks good, but I'm just going to say, Google Hamilton County Treasurer and go from there, because unlike HamiltonCountyAuditor.org, we are hamilton.co/department/treasurer. So if you Google, you'll get right there. You can pay your bills right on our website. You can pay them. I'm out of order of my slides now. I just realized that. I'm going to. No, it's my fault. Okay. Yep. Anyway, real estate taxes, as we've just said, are determined by 2 main factors: the value of the property as determined by the auditor, and tax levies, most of which are decided by the voters. And so, as I say, I don't set them, I just collect them. In truth, it is the taxpayers who set their own taxes through levies and voluntary choices. We do have over 350,000 parcels in the county, and actually, the number collected is higher than 1.5 billion. We are approaching $2 billion. Last time it was $1.8 billion. So big money, but it gets spent in such good and important ways throughout the county. As Brigid just outlined, there are ways to challenge your property value through the reassessment process. If, however, you don't get that notice or or pay attention. If you feel that your value is wrong, you do have the right to take it to the Board of Revision, where our representatives will listen to your case and make a decision. And I would say that people tend to find favorable verdicts more often than not, though we can't guarantee anything. It's all case by case. The challenges should be filed between January 1st and March 31st of each year. All the forms that you want or need to do that will be found on Brigid's website. I feel like I send a lot of people to Brigid's website most of the time. But most importantly, since I am the tax collector, that means that if you are having problems, if you need help with delinquent taxes, we want to talk to you. Especially as a private homeowner, we want to talk to you. If you fall behind, we can help you enter into a repayment contract where you will have the delinquent amount divided into 5 payments, so 2.5 years. So long as you remain up to date with your payments during that time, your other payments, that delinquency will be forgiven and no mark on your record, and everything goes back to normal. We also truly encourage you to get in touch with the Legal Aid Society. So they can be reached at 241-9400. They help a ton of people who work with our office in getting the representation they need and making sure that people stay in their homes. You can contact our office at 513-946-4800 and speak to anybody there about a delinquency contract. We really want to make sure that we can help with that. We've also been holding community events frequently at CAA to help get people in touch with the millions of dollars of COVID money that are there for mortgage, property tax, rental, and utility insurance assistance. So we're having another one on June the 6th. Please spread the word on that, because every time we've had them, we've had hundreds of people show up, and it's really been June the 7th. It's June the 7th. Thank you. Thought it was the 6th. So please do spread the word. It'll be at CAA, and we really have a ton of partners there that can help out with everybody we need. Yes. The county also separately has the 513 relief bus. They also have funds for property tax. JFS has these funds as well, and CAA. So there's a number of ways, and all of these folks will be there on the 7th and at any future event that we have to get everybody in touch with the correct services and sources of funding. One other option that we offer from my office is the optional payment program. So as opposed to getting 2 giant bills each year that can be really hard on your budget, we offer the ability to pay in advance monthly. So you'll receive a coupon. It's easier to budget because you know what the amount is that's going out. It's easier because you're staying ahead so you won't fall behind on your taxes. And it really just helps everybody out in terms of collection. It keeps you on track. So if you would like to find out more information on that, please visit our website. Please call the office. We are also looking at different ways to kind of make it more efficient, make it easier to sign up for, make it easier to use. I hope to have more details on that soon. I feel like I'm a coming soon sign right now. So, in closing, if you have any questions, my personal email is jill.schiller@hamilton-co.org. We're also working on maybe changing the website for the entire county because of that. Don't hesitate to reach out to my office, either for any issues with the treasurer's office, or if you're having questions or trouble reaching or navigating any other county office, we're here to help. So thank you again for having us. And back to Ms. Harlita.
All righty. So now we're going to have a very short discussion about the difference between property tax and municipal income tax. So in a overarching presentation, there are 6 major categories where property tax and municipal income tax differ. Property tax is based on your parcel value, whereas income tax is based on earned income. As has been clearly discussed in the previous slides, the payment dates are different. Property taxes are due in January and June, and income tax is due in April by filing a tax return or an exemption certificate. There are different taxing jurisdictions. With property tax, you can have multiple jurisdictions, being the county, a special district, school districts, cities, libraries. All of those can attach and levy property tax, whereas municipal income tax is just based upon the city itself. The calculation base is different. Property tax is based upon a millage, and it is based upon a millage assessed by a levy. And income tax is based upon a percentage of wages or earned income or profits from a business within a calendar year. They're collected by different entities, as we have discussed. The county collects property tax. The city collects municipal income tax through our municipal income tax office. And they're used for different things. So property taxes are based upon the various levies by the jurisdictions that support various operations throughout the county. And municipal income tax is based primarily on funding general fund, mostly for public service. So we did a little bit of a comparison across the county and gave some alternate effective rates. Our overall effective rate with Forest Park and just Winton Woods, which is our higher taxing base, the effective rate there is 107.506868 mills. So, as we have discussed, the form that you have takes that millage rate and breaks it across all of the entities, the jurisdictions that have levied assessments against your house or your home. And we place that home value at $220,000 so you could see or get a good idea of how it breaks down into the individual levies that are attached to your home.
Question. What was the difference between the one that says Forest Park, Wynwood, and one at the bottom says, I think, Wyoming and Wynwood?
Okay, so that is for the city of Wyoming and Winton Woods. So it's in those particular communities. So with all of these jurisdictions, the city is first and then the school district is listed second. And what I did is I went through all the effective mills in Hamilton County and gave you both those that were slightly less than the city of Forest Park and more than the city of Forest Park. As you can tell, most of the jurisdictions that are less than Forest Park are attached to Princeton, with the exception of Lincoln Heights. Lincoln Heights and Princeton is a little high. I heard a yes back there. And then I looked at Winton Woods. I tried to get most of the other communities that are attached to Winton Woods to see how Forest Park compares. And we are second in that particular running. The only place that is slightly less than us is Springdale in Winton Woods. Everybody else that's attached to Winton Woods has a higher effective property tax rate than Forest Park. Okay, so now we're gonna have a very short discussion on municipal income tax. And just like I did with property tax, I gave you a definition of what municipal income tax is. It is a tax imposed on salaries, wages, commissions, gambling winnings, and other compensation earned by residents or by non-residents working in the municipality. There are three types of municipal income tax. You have a workplace tax, which is normally withheld out of your check from the company or business that you work for while you're in the city. There's also business tax for the business operating within the city. And then there's also a residency tax. And the residency tax is based upon your earned income, and you are afforded a credit for taxes paid to municipalities that are not Forest Park. So what income is subject to income tax? This list is not all-inclusive, but it is some of the more common sources of income that we see going through the tax office. It's mostly salaries, wages, commissions, profits from a business, rental income from a property, gambling or prize winnings. We validate the income being paid by receiving your federal tax form or a Social Security Administration wage statement. But for a complete list of what income is subject to tax, it can be found in the codified ordinances of the city under section 101.04 for individuals and 101.06 for businesses.
Another question. Is there a set form that Forest Park uses for when you're doing your taxes?
Yes, there is a set form. We will talk about that shortly. This is what income is not subject to municipal income tax. The major sources of income that we see that are not subject to income tax are military pay, most of your Social Security and retirement benefits, railroad benefits, unemployment is not subject to income tax, earnings from an individual who is under the age of 18, alimony and child support, and any insurance proceeds from a personal injury or property damage. For a complete list of those sources of income that are not subject to tax, they can be found in Chapter 101.03C16. And there are 18 different sources of income not subject to income tax. So what are some of the filing rules for the city of Forest Park? We do have mandatory filing, which means that every taxpayer has to file an income tax return. An individual taxpayer is indicated by age, so once a person becomes 18 years or older, they're required to file a municipal income tax return. We do have express filing for retired individuals or individuals that have no income. They can file an exemption certificate instead of filing an income tax return. How are municipal income taxes calculated? There are 3 different factors that make up income tax. You have the tax rate itself, which for Forest Park is 1.5% of all earnings for a calendar year. You also have an applicable tax credit, and currently our credit is 25% of taxes paid to a community other than Forest Park. And there is a tax credit limit, meaning that you have to limit the income by the 1.5% of earnings that's paid to that outside community. An example of your municipal income tax, for this example, we had a person that lived in Forest Park but works in the city of Cincinnati. Their earnings were $60,000 and their W-2 showed a withholding for the city of Cincinnati that was $1,080. So if you look at the work city tax is based upon the city of Cincinnati having a tax rate of 1.8% on that earned income, which would equate to $1,080. If the city of Forest Park had no limitation on our residency credit, you would get credit for $270. But when you calculate your residency tax for the city of Forest Park, for this particular case, if you look at the $60,000 at 1.5%, that's $900. This person worked outside of the city of Forest Park, so they would limit the income to 1.5%, and then you get 25% credit of the 1.5%, which equates to $225 as opposed to $270. So if you take the $900 minus the $220, this person would owe municipal income tax of $675. What is our collection policy? The overall arching goals of our income tax is to make sure that we consistently apply the law to every taxpayer, which means every taxpayer must pay their fair share. We have an active pursuit of delinquent taxpayers, using every chapter of the law to pursue those delinquent taxpayers. Our goal is to not increase our tax rate and to maintain our tax rate at 1.5% for as long as possible. Our collection policy begins with a letter writing process that notifies the taxpayer that there has been a change in the status of their account. We have 3 levels of letters. We have a 30-day initial warning letter, followed by a 60-day second warning letter, and lastly, followed by a 90-day pre-collection agency placement letter. Before all this letter writing happens, at the end of the tax season, which would be after all extensions have been put in place and filed, we send out letters that notify you that we have not received a tax return for you in the month of November or December for the prior year. So this year in November or December, we will send out fail to file letters for anybody that has not filed a 2022 tax return. For those people that still have not filed after the failure to file notification, under the code section 101.13A7, the tax commissioner has the ability to estimate a tax liability and notify the taxpayer that this liability is due. We do that typically in the month of January and February to notify you that you now have an estimate, and that is your 30-day initial warning. If the person does not respond to that estimated liability letter, it would follow on to the 60-day and 90-day letters. How does Forest Park compare income tax-wise to other communities? Again, we're kind of in the middle. I gave some tax rates and credits and credit limits for some of the surrounding communities. Some of them are less than us. A lot of them are at 1.5%, and some of them are in excess of 1.5%. The credits kind of go all over the place. So what I wanted to express to some people is, although Wyoming is listed on this table, their base of tax is different than Forest Park. So they don't tax based upon earnings. They use your state of Ohio adjusted gross income. So they do tax your retirement and things of that nature. So they are affording a lesser tax, but they're taxing more. So although people are listed with different tax rates, that doesn't mean that necessarily they're collecting less money than the city of Forest Park. An overall summary of both property and income tax. When you look at the county taxes, I'm gonna call them your taxes for right now. I converted those taxes that are in that handout to percentages so you could see what entities are generating the most taxes. As you can tell, the city and the county do not generate a lot of tax. Majority of this goes to the schools. and they were invited to this event and chose not to attend.
Go back really quick and just give a breakdown of exactly what those percentages mean. So you're saying 62 cents every dollar? Or
No. So the overall effective rate that you have, so of the total amount that you pay in your taxes, and I believe it's somewhere around $5,800 for District 400, which is Winton Woods and Forest Park, 62% of what you pay goes to the schools, meaning it goes to Winton Woods and Great Oaks. Majority of it goes to Winton Woods, though. The city receives 17.75%, and the county, with all of its agencies, only receives 20.25% of the total amount that's paid.
only property tax, but it's property and income tax?
No, this is property tax. This is just property tax. So the income tax summary, the way it works, in one calendar year, and I looked at 2022, workplace tax, we received 58.95% of the total taxes that we get from income tax from people that are in employment in the city, not residents of the city. Meaning it's people coming in from the outside as well as people working and living here paying that tax. You also have business tax, which generates another 12.86%. And then the residency tax accounts for 28.19%. What does all of this pay for? So we have a bunch of city services that get provided with this money. So most of it, I would say, in excess of 70% of it goes to your safety forces. It's for your police and fire protection 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The property tax is a major support with the fire district. So they have a separate levy that supports the fire department. Majority of the income tax and the remaining portion, the smaller portion of property tax that we receive, supports the police department, provides for park facilities, recreation activities. It gives us the money for all of our road maintenance and road improvements. Does our tree planting, tree removal, flower bed maintenance, property maintenance, code enforcement, plans and reviews. And with that, I want to thank you all for coming to this presentation. It is now time for us to turn it over to you to allow you to ask us some questions.
Thank you all. That was very informative. We do appreciate everyone taking the time again to be here with us tonight, and to our panel members here as well. Again, if you have a question, please feel free to come up here and ask your question so we can get it all properly filmed with Waycross Media. And make sure that those questions, again, are more general in nature, specific tax questions for your own individual property or your own individual tax situation. Probably should be more private, and we'd be glad to help you with anything, answer your questions, and take those up in the more private setting. And so there, I'm going to turn it over. Feel free to come on up and ask your question, ma'am. Introduce yourself and ask us what you want to say.
Thank you. Joanne Sawyer, Forest Park resident. Thank you guys for having this meeting, number one. To Hamilton County Auditor Kelly and Hamilton County Treasurer Jill Schiller, thank you guys for coming out. It warms my heart to see women in your positions. I know this isn't easy, but it is a big accomplishment for Hamilton County. So keep up the great work. Young girls are watching you guys, and you do inspire them. The questions that I had was around the tax. First, to our mayor, if we have these in the future, I would like to recommend a Q&A after each presenter. It takes, sometimes people are not writing down their questions. They might not remember everything that they want to ask. So if we could maybe put a time on the presentation so you guys know how long that will last, and put a Q&A at the end, I think that would be helpful. Looking forward to future meetings like this. For the tax program, Forest Park tax program. Number one, there is something on there for once you reach the age of 18. I'm not sure if that is a ordinance in Forest Park. I don't know if it's a policy. I would like to request more information on that, and how do we increase that age? Our 18-year-olds, a lot of times, are gone to college. Sometimes they go to the military. How do you notify the tax department that they are no longer in the resident? We continuously get this mailing about 18-year-olds. A lot of them are not working. They don't have any money, but yet they are, constantly hounded by the tax offices for payment, and they're 18 years old. I'm here to speak up for these 18-year-olds, and it's got to stop in Forest Park. It is a known thing that as soon as they graduate from across the street, they're getting hounded from the other side of the street on taxes. They don't have jobs. They don't have it. And so I would like to know what the process is, whether that's through council, if it's something that we can vote on to increase that age to at least 21. These young people do not have the money. I personally went to the tax department, told them my son was gone off to college, told them they're not there. Doesn't matter. Their training is ridiculous. It does not matter, Mayor. They still keep sending. I get them today. My son is 31 years old, and in Lucasville Penitentiary, I've told them this, I still get mailing. Can't we do something else with that money of that mailing?
Can I answer the question? So
You can comment, yes.
The actual age is based upon the state of Ohio. Back in 2016, the state of Ohio demands that they did a uniformity of the tax code, and they require that you tax people at age 18 and older. If the person is not working, there is a mailing that we put out every January. It has a no income certificate. You can sign that and provide us the Social Security statement showing that person had no income for that year, and that would file that person.
That is the procedure,
That's the procedure.
and it's not happening. I'm just saying, in my case, it's not happening. So thank you for the procedure. It does not happen. These mailings consistently go out. It is a known thing that people talk about in Forest Park. Thank you for the procedure. If it's something we should write to the state on, thank you for that input, but that is not what I'm experiencing.
If the individual is in college or in the military and their home base is Forest Park, meaning they come back to your home in the summer, they have to file with Forest Park for whatever earnings that they have from wherever they were. If they're not filing in college in the city that they are going to college in, because I know some people get apartments and work in that community for 9 months, that community may require that they file taxes. They can provide record of that with the office, and we would accept that, give them the appropriate credit, and they would have to file. Military income, especially combat pay or basic training pay, that's not taxable. So if they provide that income, that would not be taxed by Forest Park, that military pay.
Thank you for the overview. Again, and this is the other point, was with the tax department, the delinquent and the letters that come out. When you go to the tax department, you take them all your information. I am being told, I can only speak on my own situation, I am being told, well, you still owe. okay? You need to bring this paperwork up here. You bring the paperwork up there, you show them that you paid, they still send you mailings out. I know what the procedures are. I'm sure you guys can share with us the procedures, but I'm here to share with you my experiences. And the talk in Forest Park is that the tax department is laughable. This is not something to throw any particular person under the bus. I'm talking about the entire department of the tax collection department in Forest Park. We have to fix it where they have more respect. Because right now, the rumors, the conversations you have with residents, it's laughable. You go up there and they tell you about the state auditor. You got it, they say you owe. You go to the state auditor, they say, no, we don't. Forest Park should send you a check. And my last experience I had was when I overpaid and they would not give me my check. And they said, well, we can put it on your next one. No, I can hold my own money. And so I demanded that they pay me a late fee and interest charge, just as they would if I owed them. So I'm asking in closing that an evaluation by someone is being done, a survey out to the residents on their interaction with the tax department to get some feedback and maybe some additional training. Thank you.
My name is Robert Johnson, resident of Forest Park. And my question is related to the homestead exemption. First of all, I would like to get an explanation of exactly what that is, because I think I was told years ago, I went to apply for it, and they told me you can no longer get it. And I heard you mention it, that's the reason I wanted to ask about it. Is that something still in effect? And in layman's terms, could you explain to me exactly what it is and what's the criteria to qualify for it?
Sure, I'd be happy to talk about that. So the homestead exemption, you have to apply for it. It is people that are over 65, totally disabled, and you have to have a household income this year of less than $36,100. So previously in the state of Ohio, from about 2007 to 2011, when Ted Strickland was in office, he removed the means testing, the income restrictions, to provide greater benefits to, more mature Ohioans to qualify them for the homestead exemption. And then when Kasich came in, they decided to put in a means test again because the state said that, we're losing too much money. This is so terrible. But it means that fewer people are eligible. Right. All that being said, if you qualified for the homestead exemption during those years, you are grandfathered in, but only if you were receiving it during that time. So I know we get lots of questions from folks in our office because that's one of the things that you can see on our website at hamiltoncountyauditor.org is whether or not a parcel of property is receiving a homestead exemption. But you can actually check out our website. We have a whole page on homestead exemption to see if you think you might be qualified, and our staff would be happy to answer any questions, if you think you might be eligible but just aren't receiving it.
So if you're already in, you basically grandfathered in, but you basically SOL if you.
But if you haven't, then you have to qualify under the new rules. And I will say, the rumor mill says that the legislature is considering a modest increase to the income restrictions for the homestead exemption. But from what I've heard, it's, nothing that you're going to run to tell your friends about.
Gross amount, or is that after?
It's a gross amount.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Mike Beckham. First question is on the taxes. With these new homes that's being built over here on with this Wind Road, Waycross, whatever it is, I think they got from what I was hearing, they got a 15-year debatement, but no taxes. So with the new taxes possibly coming in, are certain homes in that vicinity, if their value is going up, so are we going to be paying their taxes for those next 15 years, whatever? That's not going to happen. Okay.
No, what is happening with that particular area, the 16 homes that were built on the front of Waycross have a abatement credit for 15 years. So that just means they don't have taxes on their home. That does not add value to anything surrounding it.
Okay.
They just won't pay for the first 15 years. Now, the new subdivision going in behind them, because there is a road that has to be constructed to get you into that development or subdivision, their property taxes are abated, but then they have a special assessment for the road. So they will have some taxes added back.
Okay. My next question is, you guys talk about the taxes, the fixed roads. I'm curious where. I'm just curious where the road's been fixed at.
Well, majority of our money, it goes to the major thoroughfares, because what we try to do is we try to levy grant money to match our money. So out of the income tax, based upon the last modification that was made, we give at least $500,000 to $1 million a year in road improvements. Now, if you do like Winton and Kemper, that $1 million disappears within a couple of blocks. So we had to combine it with grant money. So we went out and we actively pursue grants from the Public Works. Ohio Public Works Commission has a lot of grants. OKI has grants. We have a municipal road fund. We use SORTA. So yes, we are actively pursuing grants and trying to do the major thoroughfares.
Okay.
And we also have a city engineer who has assessed all the roads throughout the city. So he has a rating system, is what I want to call it, where there is a poor, a worser, needs help, broke totally apart. Okay. So then we try to take those that are broke totally apart and do those. But the middling kind of conditioning, now it probably is tearing up some tires, but we don't have enough money to do it all. We have looked at what it would take to do it all. It's about $15 million, which the city does not have $15 million just to throw to roads. But since 2013, when we made the modification, we spend a minimum of $500,000 to $1 million every year doing roads.
Okay, next question. I was looking at your breakdown of all the taxes, all the surrounding communities. And Forest Park, seem to be a little high compared to most of them. But what I see the difference is most of these communities offer a lot more things. They got summer program for the kids. We have anything here. So we paying taxes and I get it and got it. However, we're high, but we don't have anything to make people understand why we're paying all this money out. These kids right here, but they have nothing for the summertime. So that's something we need to look at as well. All the other communities got programs and stuff like that. They offer summer camps. We don't have that. We're a predominantly black neighborhood, I'm sure, and we should have something here just for that. And the lady right here was speaking. I've been over 25 years, and all I ever heard about the tax department is all Forest Park want is your money. Every year we file, and they'll turn right around and find something. It don't make any sense. We got attorneys and everything. And that's what they make you feel like, they want to give us the money. And we have nothing here, no restaurants or anything. But we keep talking about, taxes. That's all I have.
Well, first, thank you for the question, Mr. Beckham. But as we had mentioned prior, so currently we're working on a number of our major thoroughfares. We're actually doing planned renovations to Kemper and Ken this year, and a lot of our local streets have already been paved over, or somewhere around like Cara Hill, Lincolnshire. If you look at a few of those, we do have a phased and tiered system. It does go from poor, fair to good roads, and we're trying to get to the poor roads first. But a few of our local streets, because obviously the cost is much less, they have been, paved over. In addition to that, we were actually hit pretty hard by the winter storm. A lot of the ice sheets that came over, we had a lot of potholes, and the city has been working very diligently to fill up the potholes. But just to answer your question, the city is working really, really hard to provide amenities. But what you have to understand is we are a predominantly black community, but since the recession, predominantly black communities have not recovered to the same degree as other communities. That's something that I noticed. That's part of the reason that I ran. But if you look, we are still taking not only time out of our day. All these people up here worked a full shift, and then they're still now coming out here to be responsive to you. So I understand your frustration. However, if you look in our park, we applied for a $150,000 grant from the state, and we just built the new Ninja Warrior course. We can't essentially use tax dollars to bring business, but we can do certain local controls to attract business to come to our area, and that's actually what we're working on right now. So not only are we working on roads, and then we just did new improvement, that's only one of many improvements that's coming to the park, but we're being as responsive as possible. So I just ask for a little bit of patience. I ask for a lot of grace, okay? But like I said, since we're being responsive to you, please take into consideration that the amenities that we have, other communities may have amenities as well, but you see what we're working with. You see that the property tax breakdown, the bulk of it is going to the school district, right? We have to levy the municipal income tax to cover things like the chipper program. That's something that I know a lot of residents actually do enjoy. There are city services that you are paying for that we have really good people working on them, especially a city employee like Harlita to come out here now at 8:30 working this is hour 12 now just to answer your question. So we appreciate you, but I'm sorry, I'll let the next person go. I won't ramble.
Hey everyone, I'm Nicole Jones, a resident, Forest Park. I have a couple things on my shoulder today, but just to kind of piggyback off what the gentleman just said, how do surrounding communities tax at the same level or lesser than us, have rec centers? That's a big thing. Rec centers and other community facilities, and we don't. I know that it's always a coming, but we've been waiting long enough. I've been here for over 20 years. I'm not from here, but I've been here for over 20 years. That rec center over there by where Cameron Park used to be, all of that's been closed for dang on years. So when? It's not about, hey, we're still working on it. We want to know when, because at this point, I have already 4 kids. 2 kids have already graduated from Winton Woods, and we're still waiting on it. We're still working on it. I'm tired of that, because when I go to basketball games and other facilities and other communities, we all compliment Springdale, Sharonville. They paying the same amount of taxes as us. Why can't we have the same amenities? It is no amenities here. We don't have amenities. It's no such thing. And that's number one. Number two, it might be a little bit more probably specific, but I'm pretty sure I'm not the only resident that has this issue. But, okay, our income tax is taxed at 1.5% of the income. But when you file late, you have these excessive amount of fees that come down to it. Like, why are we probably taxed almost 4 to 5 times the amount of what the dang on income amount would be? Of course, I will follow up with the email specific to my situation, but that doesn't seem to make sense. Then I have another thing, with the residency requirement with the college students. They're only here 9 months out the year. They get work study, or if that. Why are they being chased down by the tax professionals here? For, little mini old summer jobs for 3 months out the year. That's ridiculous, okay? Big one. What happens when the needs of the community changes that ultimately affects the outcome of the immediate needs? For example, we can't get a school levy to pass. You know why? We got a lot of renters and older folks here, period. I'm a homeowner. I'm one of the small percentages of people that actually still have kids that go to the district. So what can we do? Basically, is there a fallback program? Is there something else that we can do to get things that our schools actually need? I don't care about a ninja course. I really don't. That's it.
All right. Well, again, thank you for taking the time out to come here tonight. Just to work backwards. So I'm a alumni of Wentwood's school district as well. I vote for the school levy all the time. I still support the school as much as possible. But the reason that the levy is not passing is not because of elderly residents and renters, because I am your mayor and I'm a renter. So renters actually care about the community just as much as homeowners do. So that narrative, like, that kind of has to start to wear off, because once again, I worked a full shift. I'm still here, being responsive to all of you. That being said, Green Hills also is a part of Wentwood School District. Forest Park residents actually turn out to a high degree for the school levy. Green Hills residents turn out to vote just in the opposite direction. It's just that Forest Park takes the bulk of the blame, especially the city of Forest Park takes the bulk of the blame. But we, as the city of Forest Park, we're not responsible for the school district at all. That is totally up to the school board and how they want to organize and knock doors to get people to turn out for that particular levy. At the same time, though, we do continue to support it, but if residents don't want to support it, especially residents in Green Hills who also have to pay these taxes, there's not much that we can do as a city council. That being said, the tax department does work with you on the fees. A lot of people, if they have missed the Harlita, you might be able to speak more to this, but if they've missed the filing deadline and they are receiving fees, I myself, I'm not exempt just because I ran for office. Before I was in office and when I was in office, Harlita don't even play with me. Okay, she hit me with them taxes, and she hit me with them high fees. However, after explaining the situation, that, because I also did move away to school, and then when I came back after I explained the situation, they took away a lot of the fees, just like right then and there. And this is before I was even on council. So if you actually come up to the tax department, if you explain your situation, they will work with you, and that's on an individual case-by-case basis. Now, the penultimate question is about a rec center. Recreation centers, ultimately, that does not necessarily come from your government. That can be a private entity that is coming in, just like in Woodlawn. You see that was actually, it's partly used as a military installation, right? However, as a resident, we do want, all of council, and you see they're all nodding their head here, we all want a recreation center as well. Recreation centers are also heavily subsidized. So you may see other communities that have them, but they might be operating at a loss. They might be cutting deep into the budget. But at the same time, that's not an excuse. I'm telling the facts. We are looking into it. We are working on it. But if we build a rec center, right, and it's a city-sponsored rec center, we're having a conversation about taxes right now, that means your taxes may go up. If you want a rec center, the only way we're going to be able to pay for it is we can apply for grants. Best believe we're applying for grants right now, but that also means that we might have to issue a new levy for a tax. So it's about taking in consideration what we want. Now we're going to leverage as many other resources as we can, and on some of the new development that is coming, we're going to, in addition to that, some of those special assessments that we have placed on the parcels for the new road and the new homes that are coming around there, some of the money for the special assessments will go into the construction of a recreation center. But I have to let everyone know, if you want that and if you want it to be nice, because we deserve nice things, right? That may mean going to you as the voters to determine, hey, do you want another millage on top of this 107 to now make it 108, 109 to pay for that recreation center? And that's something that we have to think about. That being said, that does not mean that you as a resident do not have the ability to leverage your own connections and your own resources to attract investment from a private entity, from a nonprofit organization, YMCA, et cetera, to come here to say, hey, we will patronize this thing. We have high household incomes. We have high property values. We will really support a recreation center if you build it here. But they have to want to come. And as you have seen over the years, businesses have been leaving Forest Park, but it's not because they only pay income tax. It's not like they have high income taxes, but you have to ask the question, why are these entities leaving? So we have to start to hold businesses that come here to account the same way that you're holding us as your government officials to account. But you as a resident are empowered to go request of private entities to build a recreation center in Forest Park. It is possible, and that that initiative can be a part in partnership with the city of Forest Park, but it can start with you. Sorry about that, Arlene, if you want to cover a couple things.
As far as the fees go that are charged, those are, again, due to the uniform code that was in place in 2016. They standardized everything. So the penalties and fees are assessed according to the ordinance. There is, and I have heard my associates tell people that you can ask for an account review. They will provide you with the application for an account review. You can explain your position and why you want your account looked at. And one of the, either myself or my assistant, Hoi Ming, who is also in attendance tonight, one of the two of us reviews that, and we look to see what penalties and fees can be reduced based upon the history in the account. So that's kind of how that works. And that is exactly what the mayor was referring to, is he came in, he did an account review, he explained the situation, we looked at it, thought the fees were, like he said, too high, so we reduced them so that he could pay his tax liability. So our goal is to work with people. So we do have pay plan options, we do have account reviews. Our systems are set up that when the associate puts in that tax, those fees and things are automatically calculated based upon dates and amounts that are put into the system. But that doesn't mean that they have to stay that way. You have to alert us to the fact that you think that they are excessive and that we need to take a look at them. So we have over 17,000 accounts, so it's hard for us. They're like machines, they just process. So if you need somebody to kind of stop and take a look, we are willing to do that. And we get account reviews daily.
What is the protocol? If we have an issue with the tax person, who is the next person we go to, get these issues, rectified? So what is the protocol within the issue?
Yeah, actually, I think that's a fair point. And Harlita might be a little bit upset with me, but listening to your issue about the fee structure, I think that it may be beneficial for us to look into an amnesty program for people. Harlita, don't kill me on that. Don't kill me. But this is what we have. This is the reason that we have tax town halls. Once we take this feedback, we'll have to go back to the drawing board, and then we'll have to come up with a new idea. So that's why I'm saying I'm not just playing coy or speaking like a politician. I actually appreciate, all of your ideas that's being thrown around. But I did want to also add that, to your point earlier, we do have more investment coming from other entities to Forest Park. So as our population grows, we become a more desirable community. We do have a $16 million state-of-the-art library coming to over in Northland next to the post office. The library is going to build the second largest library in the entire county in our community, which is very fitting because we're the second largest community in Forest Park. So like I said, we are working on your behalf, and that was actually in no small part due to Dr. Moore really lobbying and really pushing the library to make a substantial investment. But as you also see, county officials, we've never seen the county auditor and treasurer come to Forest Park prior. And although you sit here and I'm being berated a little bit, I really appreciate all the feedback from everyone. And this is why we are working this hard to make sure that your requests are being answered. So we appreciate both of you coming, and we will go back to the drawing board on those fees. I know we have a couple more questions coming in, so if we'll let residents come.
Making your grievances known. But in comparison to those other cities as well, Sharonville is completely different in terms of how many businesses they have compared to our residences. We are residential based. It is really, really, really tough to squeeze out of that lemon all the money that you need in order to do X, Y, and Z. And we don't have as many businesses that can kind of lift. And so that's what he's talking about. So with these development projects and things like that, expanding and growing our community and people that live here is also going to be more attractive to help get bigger businesses to come and stay. And a lot of our businesses are, we get them to about the second tier, and that's kind of where they stay and they're comfortable, and they do really well at that point. But the third tiers are a little bit harder to.
We lost a Walmart. Now how are we gonna keep anything else? How you lose a Walmart?
Well, yeah, well, we don't own Walmart. You know, this is a multi-billion-dollar conglomerate. But if we can, ma'am, if you want to ask your question, go ahead.
Okay, my name's Susan Smith, a resident, almost 50 years. One thing, I understand there was a tax thing on last week. I didn't know anything about it. And I talked to a neighbor, so I think part of it, there's a communication problem, you know. I need to know, what they're asking for, what it's going to be used for. I make up my mind before I leave the house. So I didn't vote because I didn't even know it was on there. So that's one thing. The other thing is I live on Lincolnshire Drive where they're building those houses behind me, supposedly. And we got a thing, if we live on the south side, that there's some kind of special tax thing. And we went to some meeting, and I have nobody that I talked to we don't have a clue what they're talking about. And, can anybody explain this special tax, whatever? We went to the meeting, the man said, it's something lawyers can't let up, but I just felt they were less than forthcoming with the residents that went to the meeting. And is it going to be they're not going to, it's only on the south side. If you lived across the street from me, you're not a part of that.
Yeah.
So it's very confusing.
That district is a TIF district, is what you're talking about. It's a tax increment financing district. And the boundaries are set, of which that side of the street was in the district, the other side of the street was not. A TIF district, or that tax incentive district, essentially redirects property taxes from new development to support the project itself and other projects within the city.
New development. I've been there 40 years.
Yes. So if you are in the district and you have a current home, nothing changes for you. The incentive only redirects new property taxes, and those new property taxes, as the mayor said, in that TIF district can be redirected to a community center and streets and things like that.
They have tax abatements for 15 years, don't they? Are they even paying tax?
Well, the tax abatements, as we heard earlier, tax abatements are only on the home. The actual property, the land itself, is always taxed at the regular rates.
Small. Home is the big part.
It is the big part, that is correct. But in terms of the homes you're talking about, there is a special assessment on those homes equal to half of what the taxes would have been. So for the first 15 years, you're correct. They're only going to be paying on the value of the land. And in that case, we think the land is going to be about $80,000 on each lot. So that's a significant amount of, a lot of homes in the community aren't valued at that. So they're still going to pay tax on the land. If you were there and your home was there and you lived there and it's not a new home, it doesn't affect you at all.
I didn't understand why we got the letters if it doesn't affect.
But everybody in the district that says that you're going to be in the district, and you could opt out if you wanted to.
Well, I didn't know what opting out do.
But nothing.
It wouldn't change anything.
It didn't change anything. You were basically.
What's the point?
You were. That's a good question. You're right. And that's
this is what I don't understand.
And that's when you get, and that's when you get the lawyer talk, because we have to. If you're changing your taxing district and changing the effect of your home, and making it something to do with that district, and we're putting you in there, you have to get notified. Because you were existing, you get the ability not to even be in it. But in your case, in the case of everybody else in there that had an existing home, there is no effect whatsoever on the taxes they pay. It does not affect them at all.
So even if I'd opt out, it would be the same because I didn't do
Yes.
anything. It would have made no difference.
Makes no difference. Yes, that's exactly
Seems like
correct.
a crazy way to do
Yeah,
things.
it only affects.
Oh, I know.
It only affects. No, you're right. It only affects the new homeowners. Yeah. Yes. Sorry, Harlita.
One of the benefits to being inside that tax increment financing district is that district lasts longer than the abatement put on those homes. So the point is, the issue becomes in year 16, when those houses are built and all of the property tax comes in, it's still redirected back to Forest Park. And it is so that now that all of that area has been subject to new construction, you can actually do repairs on Waycross and Lincolnshire, because all of that construction is going to impact those roads that are in front. So for years 16 through 30, it affords us the money to fix the roads. Just like we had a TIF district in Waycross on the other side at Caroline, and we were able to do all of that street improvement based upon that TIF district. But it is set by particular boundaries. So you can't just throw the money anywhere. It has to be touching that district.
So it's not going to be to build the road for these supposedly some kind of housing.
No. It's going to be to repair it after all the damage is done from the construction. So, yeah, because, yeah. Yes, it's coming off of Waycross near Cara Hill.
Good evening. My name is Denise Holt, and I am the first vice mayor of the city of Forest Park. We as council, we feel your pain because we all live here and we're going through the same thing that you're going through. We work daily to try and keep the taxes down, because I think that is one of the biggest problems that we have, one of the biggest complaints that we have are the taxes. Because I have the same complaint. I work every day. And you were talking about seniors. I am a senior, but I still work every day. But we as council members, there's only so much that we can do to keep from upping the taxes. But I'm up here to ask our councilwoman, our tax woman today. You talked about the AGI. What is that based on? Is it based on the federal AGI or?
Yes, so with some cities are converting from earned income to use your adjusted gross income when you file your state taxes. So whatever AGI that you have in the state of Ohio, that's what they're using to do your rate against. So their 1% is not on your earned income. It is on your adjusted gross income, which includes all of your pensions, all Social Security. It includes unemployment, because that AGI, when you look at all those incomes that are listed on that federal return, when you get to that AGI, that's what they're using.
Okay, because
That's a different base than what we use.
Okay, because you said in there, you said most of your Social Security earnings are excluded. Yes. Not all of your Social Security earnings.
No, all of them are excluded. We do not tax Social Security income.
Okay, because I heard most. I just wanted you to clarify that for me.
Yes.
And to the citizen, hang in there with us. We're doing everything that we possibly can to fix everything that you're asking us to fix. But this is like a bed and breakfast community, and we can't go out, can't go up. There's only so much that we can do. But hang in there with us. We're doing our best. God bless you, and thank you.
Good evening. My name is Chuck Johnson. I'm a resident of Forest Park, and I'll leave it at that. My first question is for our finance director. Aside from the fire fund levy, when is the last time that the city of Forest Park had a levy on the ballot of any kind?
I don't think we ever have had, no, our millage comes from what's automatic. It's inside. So we have never levied an operational levy. We've never put a capital levy on. We've never done anything other than for the fire department. No, we've never had one that I looked into history. We've never submitted
The
anything.
reason I ask that question because I think that's an important point and an important part of the whole tax issue that never gets talked about. We have not put levies on the ballot to raise the taxes of the citizens of Forest Park. Now, back in 2008, when the bottom dropped out of everything, we considered it. As Councilwoman Holt knows, we met almost constantly as a council to determine how do we get past this without raising taxes. The way we got past it was we cut to the bare bones in personnel. This is 2023. We have not hired back, or we have not filled all of those positions from 2008. And the reason we did not and have not is because we still did not put levies on the ballot. The other piece of that is anytime you are dealing with a public entity, the vast, vast majority of the income for that entity goes to personnel costs. That's people costs. There's no way around it. We have to pay people, and the way we get around not paying them more is to cut people. And when you cut people, I don't care what business you're in, there's going to be a difference in the level of some service somewhere. As Councilwoman Holt just said, the city has done the best it could do in keeping up with that. Now, for probably the first 12 years after 2008, nobody noticed the cuts. Nobody noticed the seamless production because it was all still getting done. But at some point, it catches up with you. It's caught up with us now. One of the decisions that we as citizens are going to have to make is what services do we want to continue and which ones do we want to give up? Or are we going to be willing to have a tax hike to keep the ones that we got at the level that we have them at? Not to increase the level, but at the level we have them at. A couple of other things in terms of a recreational center. I've been here for a long, long time. God knows it's a long time. Two things about a recreation center. One, it cannot be spearheaded by the elected officials. It has to come from a citizens group or committee. That's where it has to start. The reason it can't come from the elected official is because technically and legally, we're supposed to remain neutral on those things, and it has to be put on the ballot as a tax. So now, at least twice, maybe 3 times since I've been here, that's been on the ballot. Every time it's been on the ballot, it has never gotten more than 30% of the citizens who voted in favor of it. And as the mayor said, yeah, we would all like to have it. We would all want it. But people look at things in terms of their pocketbooks. Do I want a center, and am I willing to pay for it? That's the question that you basically vote on when you put the center on the ballot. It's not nice, but it happens. And as Vice Mayor Holt just said, and as Councilwoman Clark just says, look at Forest Park. There is no land left in Forest Park. Businesses that have left Forest Park didn't leave because they didn't like Forest Park. They left because they could not expand. At least that's what they thought at that time, because when businesses think of expanding, they think of expanding this way. We are finally, through the city manager and the mayor and council, we're finally getting business to look at expanding upward instead of outward. Go around Forest Park, I challenge you, go around Forest Park, you will not find parcels of land together that major businesses want to come here and build on because they're just not big enough. This city was established as a bedroom community. As a matter of fact, there was never intended to be any kind of factories or businesses in Forest Park. It was all supposed to be just bedroom. Now, this goes back to the 60s, for most of you were born, but that was the idea. And unfortunately, it was a good idea then, but it's turned out it was a terrible idea because we can't get businesses because we can't grow. Now, because I'm no longer a public official, I can say some stuff that other people can't say. When we're talking about taxes, when we're talking about the tax department, please try to keep in mind they are grossly, grossly understaffed, period. Have been, always have been. And, you know, for 20 years, I've been hearing these same things. Nobody wants to pay taxes. There's no way you can be nice enough to want people to pay taxes. You can be cordial, you can be professional. Bottom line is, even when I go over there to pay my taxes, I come away mad. Well, I don't want to do it. And I'm not going to blame me. I'm going to look at somebody in there because you're taking my money. Mm-hmm. The other thing that goes with that is a lot of the things that we have to do, not only we here in the city, but the county as well, are determined by what happens in Columbus. So many of the things that happens here every single day, those decisions are made there. And what I would say to you as an answer to that, every time you get a chance to vote on anything, go vote. But vote for the right people, and I dare say vote for the right party. And I ain't gonna tell you what party I am, but I think you already know. Because, you know, this is not a political meeting, but everything comes down to two things, people in this world: money and politics. Thanks.
Well said. We're already about a half an hour over, and I want to thank everybody for coming this evening. Oh, we've got, yes, good.
Hi, my name is Trevina Adams, and I am a first-term, second-year councilwoman. And I just wanted to take this opportunity, as I would be remiss if I did not, and encourage all of you to participate in some of the commissions, boards, and committees that we have for Forest Park. There are so many opportunities for you to get involved, to be a part of, to change, to encourage, to influence. And I see all of you today, and I'm so very happy to see you. But I would love to see you on Quality of Life or Beautification Committee or Planning Committee or whatnot. So please talk with our Clerk of Council. Ms. Takia is in the back. I'm sorry, Takia, I didn't mean to put you out there like that. But please get with her. Find out which committees are available. Get involved. So I am so glad you all came out tonight. I'm so happy to have heard your comments and your concerns and your grievances and your appreciations, etc. But if you really want to do something, and if you really want to change something, we encourage you to get involved. I don't want to hear about, I don't like this, I don't like that, if you're not willing to get involved. Please get involved. You are the people, you have the power, get involved. Thank you so much.
That's a great closing. I want to thank everyone for being here. Second largest city in Hamilton County, and we want to repeat that again. We are the heart of the North. Everything that goes on in the Northwest, the northern suburbs, it's right here. This is a place to live. This is a place to grow. And we've got a lot of good things going on. But again, Hopefully, we'll be able to announce a lot of them in the near future.
Right.
Thank everyone for being here.
Yeah, please
Mayor, any
check-
closing comments?
Yeah, thank you everyone for coming out tonight. Like I said, we are trying to be as responsible and responsive as possible to you, the people. Like I said, and like Council Member Adams said, please consider joining boards and commissions. We need your ideas. We need your spirit. We need your passion for this community. But please check out your quarterly newsletter, The Progress. It's going to keep you up to date on everything that the City of Forest Park is working on. That was something that had left prior, but that was something that we actually brought back on our very, very tight budget. I don't want this to end on a sour note. I want people to know that this is going to be the first of a few tax town halls, and it's not just going to be a session where we talk about all of our concerns, but we're going to come up with solutions. So like I said, we're going to take everything that you said, go back to the drawing board, and maybe at the next tax town hall, hopefully we can come up with more solutions. Maybe it is reworking the property tax. Maybe it is finding out if we can put something on the ballot if you have an appetite or a desire to do so. But I know you want amenities. I know you want things, and we are working as hard and as diligently as possible to bring them. But please continue to show up to council meetings. City council meetings are the first and third Monday of every month. Waycross will be there to record them all the time. They're always will be posted afterwards. But once again, thank you, everybody. And I guess we can, if any county officials have any final thoughts, I guess we can just go ahead and close this out. But thank you and good night, everybody.